What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here for AdoramaTV, coming to you from the cutting room right here in the middle of Manhattan, New York City. What am I doing here, though? Well, Nikon showed up with a van, shoved me in it, then threw this in my hands. The new 7200mm f2.8 VR vibration reduction S higher tier lens version 2. So the 2.8 lens trinity is a staple for any system, and Nikon's paying a lot of attention to it. If you remember, pretty recently, the 24 to 72.8 got an overhaul. They made it lighter, smaller, faster, more accurate, better in every way, and it's kind of a similar story here with the 7200mm VR S version 2. So what do they actually do here? Before I go into what we did here, let's talk about what's going on with this lens in my hands. So right off the bat, it is lighter. I will say that. You can definitely feel it if you're used to the original for the Z mount. This one, they're saying is about 26% lighter because it has less glass in it, but still is optically excellent. I mean, it really is. It's also just a little bit shorter. That you might not notice, but what I will say is they kept a lot of things we want in this despite trying to make it a little more compact. In the past, in this industry, when we make lenses compact, we have trade-offs like not being able to use teleconverters. Not the case here. You can totally use your 1.4 or 2 times teleconverter, which is nice to see, but it also keeps the internal zoom, which is great because you want to have that thing sealed. If you are a professional working in all types of environments, you want to make sure nothing's getting inside of that lens, but also, we're in a hybrid world, kids. If you want to shoot video, you want to put this on a gimbal, a stabilizer, you don't have to worry about rebalancing if you're going from 70 to 200mm when you zoom. It's just all encompassed, and that way you're just bouncing once and you're good to go, which is great to see. You're looking at a 77mm filter thread size, which is cool because that matches the new 24 to 72.8. So you can share your filters across the system there, or the two lenses rather, and that's really nice. You've got 2 lens function buttons that are in multiple places, no matter what orientation you set it in your hand. Horizontal, vertical, you can reach lens function 1 or 2, and you can set that to all the stuff that you know and love in the Z series. You've got your zoom ring, you've got your focus ring, but you've also got your customizable control ring, which lets you set things like exposure compensation, ISO, aperture, and that's also cool because on here is one thing I love on my lenses, a D-click switch. So let's say you set it to aperture. You can either go click, click, click between your f-stops, or if you're doing something like video and you want to have a smooth iris, you have that ability to either have it click in or go smooth and open iris, close iris, or even just someone that just likes to live in between f-stops. It's really nice to have that, and I'm a big fan of that. Another thing that's a huge change, actually it's not a huge change, but it's something we bring up a lot when Nikon puts a foot on their lenses. It's got Arca Swiss now. I don't know if it's them listening or what, but in the past, a lot of people have had to go and buy an Arca Swiss foot so it goes right into a tripod without needing the adapter plate. Now you've got it right here in the box, which is nice. But the other thing that's nice is if you're someone like me that doesn't use the foot too much and you flip it up like this and you kind of let it live there like that, they include in the box this nice collar to replace it with. What that lets you do is have a nice clean silhouette, also takes up less space in the bag, because if any of you know what packing tight is like and you have this weird foot and it's taking up some weird space, don't got to worry about it anymore, and I'm very happy to see that. You also get the lens hood, of course, but also it features a little window, so if you're going to put something like any kind of circularizing polarizer or something you got to spin for an effect, you can do that with the lens hood on, which is nice to see. But overall, it's just a better lens. We're talking about more attention to the autofocus as well. The voice coil motors, which they call Silky Swift, have gotten a little bit of an upgrade. So they're claiming it is faster, more accurate, quiet, and they actually say it can track better. And yeah, I will say that it does track really great, but I couldn't tell you if it tracked any better because the last one tracked great. So if they're telling me it's better, I'll take it. I put it here on my Nikon Z9, and I just got to work here at the cutting room. I called up my girl Cassandra because I was like, I need something that's kind of got some distance, and I got to figure out something cool to shoot for you guys. So that's why we came here to the cutting room. If you guys are going to be in New York at all, or you're here in New York, you're going to want to check them out right here in Midtown. We'll put a link down below to all their stuff. But as you can see, it is a very cool venue, but it is also a dark venue. Very low light. I mean, really low light. And everything is eating light around here. We're talking about velvets, all black everything. Nothing's got reflections, all this craziness. So I'm trying to light for Cassandra and the space to make something happen here. And that was the big challenge. 1, I wanted to show how high up she is. 2, I wanted to get an angle on her so I'm not just underneath her getting like what I would call like civilian shots. And I wanted you to get some sort of look to the space because I didn't have access to a board here, didn't have a tech. Whatever the lights are in the space I had to work with, and I'm not kidding you, it was like no light in here. So what can I do with the strobes I have that can separate her from the space, light the space when it doesn't really reflect any light, works with the feel of the space. And that's when I got to work with a couple of lights that were cool tone. I'm gonna say cyan, CTBs, think like steel green, stuff like that. Those kind of gels ripping all over the place, down onto the floor, watching where my shadow's projecting so it doesn't look overly lit. But I also said, I'm gonna make her look like she's organically in that space, stage light. And any excuse I have to pull out a Fresnel, I'm pulling out a Fresnel, and I pulled out two in this case. My key light was the ProPhoto Small Fresnel on a B10X Plus, 500 watt seconds, and it was just carrying that distance, because don't forget, I'm shooting at f2.8, which did a lot of the heavy lifting for the power of that light. I shot around ISO 400 just to get some of the bulbs in the room to actually come up. That's how dim these were. I'm shooting at the bulbs in the chandelier, and I had to go up on my ISO just to get them to show up, and I didn't want to go too slow in the shutter because I didn't want any movement that Cassandra was going to be doing to look blurry at all, right? Now, the other thing I threw at it was the second Fresnel on a little ProPhoto A2 behind her. So the reason I did that was, one, it's dynamic. Two, I really wanted you to see what it was like when light is flying down the lens. And Fresnels are really, really beautiful. They're hard lights, but they're clean lights. They're very homogenized. There was a lot of pros will say the look of a Fresnel light will give you. So I've got this cold light wrapping Cassandra. She's got this gold warmth on her. She's got a gold hoop. We've got these warm candles, and I was shooting the cold light around those warm candle chandeliers to give them a nice outline. I was giving her a nice outline so she snaps off. You can even see some of these shots where I don't have the blue lights on, or the cold lights on rather, and you can see how just like, nah, it gets. Shots were passable, but you know, we want to make it snap a little bit. And I was shooting at an angle at the same height as the chandelier to give you an idea of how high she was up there without being like down below with a lot of negative space or just a janky angle, right? So we got some nice movements with her, and I was just tracking her with 3D tracking with face detection on. It was going through the chandelier, finding her face. We're locking in, we're taking shots, we're good. And then we just did different poses to get that dynamic look of the hoop, because I'm in a very special location. However, she has a residency here because she is a very well-known nightlight performer, and I'm literally barging in on her practice time. I'm not making this up. I don't want to eat up a lot of her time. I don't want to overstay my welcome. So we're working fast, right? So I hope this gives you an idea of what this lens looks like when you're just in a basic environment, what foreground looks like, what background looks like, but you're not going to get a lot of bokeh looking to this. However, I had to do something more stable and more clean and more just like, what does this lens really look like? Well, once we got her down, she dropped her hair. That amazing waterfall of hair just drops. And I found a velvet sheet of fabric, and I hung it on some light stands, and I just gave her a really quick micro studio session to give her some promo shots. But I just wanted to see what this lens looks like in a controlled situation, not making organic light, not having movement, not having all that stuff. So I closed down the aperture a little bit to see what that looks like, because if I can, I just want to see what this lens is doing at different apertures. And a single light 4-foot octa, she looks beautiful, reflective from the Manfrotto halo. We're good to go. And I threw a nice warm hair light on her with the ProPhoto A2 that I already had set up with the soft bounce on it, and just cut a nice halo on her hair against the fabric, and we're good, right? But I also wanted to check out the close focusing, because as you all know, if you follow me, I'm a psychopath about close focusing distance, because I have a bad habit of constantly getting closer to my subject. I want to see where that limitation is, because you can always focus forever. How about focusing close up? And I'm really happy to report that at 200 millimeter, you're at under 3 feet of minimum focusing distance. That's awesome. Usually longer lenses, it's like 3 feet or farther, and you're kind of stuck. And you know what it's like when you get closer to the subject, all of a sudden it's just not going to focus anymore, and you're like, oh, I guess that's my limitation. I didn't feel that here. You can see that in this half-face shot. This is the whole frame. This is me at 200 millimeters right up on Cassandra's face, very uncomfortably, but she took it like a champ. And the 70 millimeter is nice as well. You can actually get even closer than that when you zoom out, which is expected, right? Overall, this was a very positive experience for me. I'm happy to see that they are paying close attention to the hardware, because as you know, Nikon does a lot of things with firmware, but what is the point of having a brain telling you what to do if the hardware doesn't keep up with it? So having things like the autofocus motors improve. While I was up there shooting through the banister, through the candles and everything, I did notice that I wasn't even noticing it focusing. So the focus breathing has definitely been suppressed in this lens, which is great to see. Having it lighter so that you want to use it more, making sure that it's as best that it can be going forward in a very critical lens series like the 2.8 Trinity is nice to see. Anyway, I've been going on for a little while. I can see Fernando's getting tired holding this camera. Yeah, he's nodding at me. There's just so much to talk about. It's one of those things that might feel like an incremental update, but don't forget about how important a 70-200mm lens is. And don't forget that Nikon, their whole goal here was to make it lighter, more compact, easier to carry, and just not a monster lens, but able to have all that capability and versatility. And they achieved that here, right? So if you have any questions for me about my limited use case here today with the 70-200mm f2.8 VRS version 2 for the Z mount, give me a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer it. I want to thank Cassandra. Let me bother her all day. She's awesome. Put her social down below. I want to thank the Cutting Room for having us. Make sure you check them out. But for now, my name's Seth Miranda for Adorama TV, and I will see you next time. Later.